We received a message from outer space. It came from a 9-year-old girl. There are currently 6 people in space, all officially listed as crew members aboard the ISS. They are Christina Koch, Nick Hague, Alexei Ovchinin, Alexander Skvortsov, Andrew Morgan, Luca Parmitano. Which is why we were so shocked when we received a transmission out of nowhere. One that didn't come from the ISS. Of course, it could have come from any of the 4,987 satellites orbiting at various distances around our planet. It could have just bounced off one of them and returned to Earth, making it appear as an alien signal. But it didn't. The transmission came from a satellite in geostationary orbit, as a semi-live feed with minimal delay. What we heard was the voice of a little girl, calling out for help in panic. We scrambled around the office at NASA, desperately trying to determine if it was a mistake, or some sort of prank, but it without a doubt originated from the satellite. "Hello," the girl called out, on the brink of crying. None of us said a word. We simply stared in awe, each of us hoping someone else would take initiative and respond to the frightened little girl. "I'm scared. Please help me," she continued, now sobbing. After what felt like an eternity, I finally grabbed the microphone, unable to bear the increasing tension. "Hello. My name is Robert Jones. Who am I speaking to?" "My name is Amy. Where are you? Why can't I see you?" I took a deep breath, half expecting my coworkers to burst out laughing. Their faces were enough proof that they weren't in on the possible joke. "We're talking over a radio. Amy, that's why you can't see me. How did you find this channel? It's cold. Can you let me out?" she asked, ignoring my question. "I want to go home." I swallowed hard. She sounded so frightened, so confused, yet my gut told me something was wrong. "Amy, can you tell me where you are?" While I waited for a response, one of my coworkers got in contact with a colleague over at Roscosmos, confirming that they also received the signal. They were frantically trying to get us all to confess to the prank. We shot back with our own accusations, but as they sent us a live feed of their conversation with the girl, we were all baffled to hear that she was speaking in Russian. "I don't know where I am. It's dark, and I can't see anything." At that point, the event had attracted a lot of attention around the office. When the head administration found out, we were quickly shut down, and the more senior staff members took over. I paced around the office, not able to shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Thousands of questions whirled around inside my head, none of which I could reasonably explain using logic. "Rob, do you have a minute?" my boss asked as he stepped out from the comms area. He sighed. "She asked to speak with you personally." We can't get a single coherent word out of her. I know it's a bit uncomfortable, but we need to figure out what the hell is going on here. I didn't even hesitate. I basically charged past my boss, barged into the room, and only slowed down as I stood in front of the microphone. I grabbed a headset and turned it on, not entirely ready to face what was on the other side. "Amy," I asked. "Robert, is that you?" I nodded for a second, forgetting she couldn't see me. "Yes, I'm here." "Amy, listen, I need to know how you got to where you are right now. What happened to you?" "I don't know. My mommy took me to see a doctor. They put me in a machine. They said they needed to take pictures of my brain, because my head always hurts." She cried. "Did the doctor tell you what the machine was? Did he call it an MRI?" I think that's what the doctor said." I looked around the room, my superiors as dumbfounded as myself. Some in heated discussions with the higher-ups. The news were spreading through the company like wildfire, yet no one admitted to knowing what was happening. "Amy, can you move around?" My boss gestured for my attention. "Figure out who she is," he whispered. "No, I can't feel my arms or legs," she said. I lost focus for a moment, as my boss scribbled down something on a piece of paper and held it up in front of me. A list of questions he wanted me to ask. I hesitated, not because of the questions, but because I didn't feel comfortable knowing the answers. "How old are you?" "Amy, I'm 9. "And what's your last name?" "Keeper. My name is Amy Keeper." The others were coordinating with the Russians at Roscosmos. They were getting the same answers as us, except spoken in Russian, so I asked the only question I could think of. "Amy, are you talking to anyone else right now?" She didn't respond, so I asked again. Silence. Then, another question popped up in my mind. "Why me?" "Amy, why did you want to speak to me?" She stopped sulking for a moment. "Because I don't want you to die." I looked at my colleagues. They seemed equally shocked at her statement, confirming what I'd just heard. "What do you mean?" She continued crying, sobbing about wanting to go home. Within a minute, without any response, we lost contact. Our colleague from Russia was furious, spouting platitudes that threatening with death, even as a prank, was going too far. Apparently, they'd gotten a similar message from Amy. After a quick search, We found a single Amy keeper, with age and recent hospital visit, that matched the person we'd just spoken to. She had passed away from a brain tumor, glioblastoma, 6 months ago. Her entire treatment history originating from a private hospital, one that has since ceased its operations, and closed down. We managed to find the satellite, and the little information about it that exists. Apparently it had been launched in the spring of this year, but while the name was listed, we found no information about who launched it. Artifacts 040919. Last night, I got a call from my co-worker. He'd just received news that one of our Russian counterparts, the radio operator speaking to Amy, had been found dead in his apartment. No autopsy report yet released, but suspected suicide. He'd been warned, just like myself. But the most disturbing thing isn't that she predicted my death, long after her own demise. What really terrifies me is that whoever, or whatever Amy is, we communicated directly between our offices at NASA, and a non-habitable satellite, meaning the message didn't come from Earth, then bounced off the satellite before reaching our offices. The messages came directly from the satellite. This reminds me a lot of Soma, brain imaging sent into the future as a copy of the original self. Is there any way to find out more about the hospital, to see if they had any experimental technology going? Artifacts. I feel like I've heard of that before, in a different but equally creepy and puzzling context. Might be connected. Definitely sounds familiar. Aren't they a medical company or something? Not sure what business they have with launching satellites. What's interesting is that the number after the satellite's name 040919 looks like a date code. Depending on the country, that could either be April 9th, 2019 or September 4th, 2019. If it's the first one, then that's probably just the launch date. But if it's the second one, it must mean something is going to happen this September. Dude, don't say that. It's my birthday on September 4th. I am so sorry. I thought they used her brain in the satellite kind of like an AI system. Am I just completely far off? Like instead of using a traditional AI, they use the power of a human brain. That's my thought too. Just can't comprehend why they'd use a kid. More pliable, easier to erase, so they thought.